Welcome to my 8th grade math lesson. Today we're going to be discussing translations, reflections, and rotations. Vocabulary. Transformation. A transformation is a change in the size or position of a figure. Translation. The movement, slide of a figure along a straight line. Please remember that with a translation you slide the figure. Reflection. With a reflection, it's a transformation in which a figure flips across a line. I will repeat, flips across a line. Rotation. A rotation is a transformation in which a figure is turned about a point. Now, that turn can occur 90-degree rotation, which would be one quadrant, 180-degree, which would be two quadrants, 270-degree rotation, which would turn it three quadrants. Now, here's a very important notation down here at the bottom of this poster, and it talks about the difference between the pre-image and the prime image. With a pre-image, it is your starting point, okay? So, for example, if you have angle ABC, then that would be where you would start, okay? But if once you do your prime image or once you do the example problem, then you will be doing a transformation which would change that to an A, and this little mark right here would be triangle A with a hash mark. Then you will record triangle B with a hash mark, and then the C with a hash mark. So just don't forget those little hash mark symbols there. Everybody understand? Repeat after me. Transformation, translation, reflection, rotation. Awesome. Now, let's start with the translation first. With the translation, we are going to slide the figure left and right, add or subtract the number from X. Or we're going to move up and down. If we move up and down, we're adding or subtracting the number from Y. Here is your X-axis. It goes this way. And your Y-axis goes up and down. Here is my triangle. I have the markers A, B, and C. If you take a look at A, it is located at a -3 and 3. Here is A, -3, and it's on the Y-axis. It's located at 3. 1, 2, 3. And you may not see these numbers here on every one of them. Since this is our first one, I went ahead and marked the numbers. But you may not see always those numbers. If you don't see numbers, you just count. Let's take a look at B. It's located at -2 and 5. Here's B. On the X, it is -2. On the Y, it is located at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we have C. It is located at 0, 3. Here is C. It is on the 0 marker and is up 3. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to call on a former student of mine. He is going to come forward and he is going to do a translation for you. He is going to follow this example of this rule, and it says to translate this particular triangle, we want to move up 2 units and to the right 3 units. And then the ordered pairs are already there. And then he's going to rename them using a prime image. Here we go.
How's everyone doing this evening?
Doing good. Thank you for coming to class.
Thank you. I won't take up too much of your time. As previously stated, we're going to translate up 2 units of the y-axis and to the right on the x-axis 3 units. So let's start with an easy one. Let's start with angle A. -3 and +3. The trick here, this is what I used to do in Miss Eve's class. I would always plot out the x first in my head. That way I would already know where I am, depending on the question. Sometimes it could be simplistic as this. Sometimes it could be a bit more complicated with the wording. Sometimes it's down and left or down and right. They'll try to mix it up. But long story short, it's just better to have at least the X or the Y, depending on the question, plot in your head first. That way you have an accurate idea of the other. Just to help speed things along. with that little tangent out of the way, let's start. Negative 3, 3 to the right, 2 up. Negative 3. We're going off the x. 1, 2, 3. And since the y was positive 3, we're going to be going up 2. So that would be 5. So our a prime value would be 0, comma, positive 5. Excuse me.
Very good.
Oh, I see that one's already plotted out.
So you put the A with the hash mark there before on the little dot that you put there.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Next, we move on to b prime. And that's negative 2, comma 5. 1, 2, 3. And the y value 5 is up 2, so that would be 7. So our b prime value will be positive 1, comma 7. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now for C prime, we have C, regular C, 0, comma 3. 1, 2, 3. And then up 2 on the Y. So that's 3, comma 5.
Will you use your pointer for me, please, and show me where you got the 3, 5 again?
Okay, I start from negative 2. When I go to the right, 3 units. 1, 2.
No,
3.
on C. We were on C, not negative 2B. We're on C.
Oh, excuse me. 1, 2, 3.
Okay?
And then I go to where it would be negative 2, 5. No, 0, comma 3, excuse me. So this is the original C value. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Okay, and so that's where you got 5.
Yes.
Okay.
I just plot this out.
Very good.
Excuse my drawing. I'm not the best.
And notice where he put the hash marks on the A and the B and the C. So he moved right along. He moved right 3 units to rename those ordered pairs using a prime image. Very good job, Justin. Excellent. Next, we're going to move on to a reflection. Now, in a reflection, if you flip over the x-axis, you will change the y value to their opposite. And if you flip over the y-axis, you change the x value to their opposite. So let's take a look at this example. We're going to look at triangle CDE, and over the y-axis, that is the example. So we're going to do a reflection. Remember, I told you that when you do a reflection is a transformation in which a figure flips across a line. So don't forget the vocabulary. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to get my former student again to come up, and he's going to show us how to do this reflection.
Okay, so the question's asking us to reflect triangle CDE over the y-axis, so up and down. This will mean our x values are going to be negative because we changed them to their opposite. And
Exactly.
These are clearly positive.
Perfect.
So we're going to be using this quadrant. Therefore, our C prime, excuse me, I don't want to get in anyone's way, excuse me. Our C prime is going to be negative 2, comma 1.
So you really just did the opposite, like in the directions. It said if you change the y value, then they're opposites. And if you flip over the y-axis, you'll change the x value to their opposite. So that's all you're doing, right? Am I correct, Justin?
Yes, it just depends on how the question is being asked.
How the question is being asked. Okay.
So we plot that. Negative 2, comma 1.
So he's at negative 2. And then he's going to put the 1. Okay.
Next, we move on to 5, comma 3 for D. Again, you just repeat what the question is asking of you. So reflection is pretty straightforward, as long as you know what the question is asking for and you remember what you're doing. So reflection is pretty straightforward. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You are really, I'm amazed at how much you remember from this, considering it's been what, like 3 years since you were with me. So I'm really excited that it's sticking. Good
Thank you.
job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next we move on to E, which will be E prime, which will be negative 3, comma 4.
Notice how he knows that those are negative numbers there. Then he is going to connect those, and that looks really good. It's nothing but a reflection. And we said a reflection is a transformation in which a figure flips across the line. And he definitely flipped it across the line. You did a good job with that. Good job. Look at the answers there. Pay attention to this. You can rewind this tape. You can practice it. You can look back over it. And when I give you your work in the Google Classroom, all you got to do is go back and look at how I did this one. Now, your problems will be different based upon what example I give you or what problem I give you. But this is how this particular one will work. But the idea will stay the same, because the definition of a reflection is when the figure flips. Now we're going to move on to a rotation. A rotation is the figure will rotate either clockwise, just like a clock, when a clock moves to the right, or counterclockwise when it moves to the left, depending on the directions. Now, we're going to rotate. Here is the direction. Right here, it talks about a rotation, transformation. Okay? And so you've got to follow the direction on this. It is critical that you follow directions. It tells you what a rotation is. It could be 90, 180, or 270. Now, we're going to go back and look at these directions. The directions clearly say, point to the directions for me, Mr. Justin. What do the directions read? Will you read that for us, please?
Rotate figure ABC clockwise to the right 90 degrees.
So that's what he's going to do. There's that figure right there. Let me get a good image of it. He's going to, look, it's already been plotted, the A, B, and C. He is going to rotate, which means he is going to turn that rotated at a 90-degree angle. So watch him turn it. Here we go.
In a 90-degree angle clockwise rotation, the X and Y values switch places, and the new Y value is the opposite sign. Now, focus on this, which means the ordered pair is going to be opposite. It's easy to confuse. The numbers will be swapped as opposite to the ordered pair. So the Y value is going to be the new X value, and the X value is going to be the new Y value. Long story short, the numbers will be swapped. It's easy to confuse this for reflection because you follow a similar pattern in those directions. It's very easy to confuse the two. But as long as you remember what keywords like clockwise, counterclockwise, as long as you remember what the question is asking you for, you should be okay. So, for A prime, I would have 3, comma, negative 1.
Notice what quadrant he's placing that in. Tell us why you placed it there.
Because the quadrants are considered the four squares in a coordinate plane. So when I move back to the directions, a 90-degree rotation turns one quadrant depending on which direction I go. 180 is 2 quadrants, 270 is 3, and 360 is all the way back around.
So one quadrant would be that one below. Excellent.
Okay. Next, we move on to B. Oh, yes. Yes, let's move on to B. And B prime would be 1, comma, negative 2. So 1, 1, 2. Sorry about that. And finally, C prime would be, well, it's the same value. So one of them is going to be negative and the other is going to be positive. You won't always have answers or questions this straightforward, but the idea should be the same. So 1, comma, negative 1 is our C prime.
Very good. So can you go over that again for me? Make it a little bit dark. I know it's kind of, I think. That's that same triangle. And all he did was he did a rotation, was where he turned it about a point. And he took that triangle, he turned it. And when he turned it 90 degrees, he turned it to the right. And when he turned it to the right, one quadrant, that's what it would look like. Excellent.
So, you want to take over for this one?
No, you're doing you're doing fine, my former student. Go ahead. I love it.
So to review, with translations, your image to left to right or up or down. Slide down, subtract from the y value. Slide up, add to the y value. Right, add to the x. Left, subtract from the x. Pretty straightforward. Reflection, you're going to flip. Over the x-axis, you will be converting xy to x comma negative y. Over the y-axis, which is what we already done in our previous example, over the y-axis, you'll be doing going from xy to negative x comma y. Remember, focus on what the question asks. Always. Don't assume. And finally, rotations. And you're going to be turning based on what the question asks of you. Now, 90 and 270 are, well, I don't know why Miss Heath wrote this, because technically 270 is supposed to be negative y comma x. So.
Yeah, that was an error on that. Apologize.
Okay, but as previously stated, 90-degree rotation, y comma negative x. But in a 90-degree rotation, the values within.
What I'm saying is that on that 90 degree and that 270, that rule should apply to both with the x and the y.
Okay, now I see what you did. But remember, 270 is going to be negative y, not negative x.
That's
90,
right.
Negative x, 270, negative y.
Okay.
And of course, 180-degree rotation is double negative. And of course, obviously 360 lands on the original, so xy converts to xy.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you coming to my class, young man. You did an awesome job. I got one more thing to say. I hope you all learned a lot. I hope you all learned a lot from this lesson today. I hope that you all will watch this video more than once, study the video, and do the application. It is so critical that you are applying the things that you're learning. You have to practice. I have several platforms online. I have several more Google videos. YouTube videos for you to follow and learn. Please practice, practice, practice. Y'all did great. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. Have a good one. Bye.